Welcome. This is ActiveSpirituality.life. It is a weekly forecast program with astrology and a guided meditation activation to help you make the most of your week. It's run by Pamela Cucinell, that's me, the astrologer, and Suzy Meszoly, Master Healer. We invite you to find out more about our individual work. Suzy Meszoly, SuzyMeszoly-healer.com, or insightoasis.com for astrology. You can also find both of us at activespirituality.life, and we look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends. Here we go.
Welcome, everyone, to activespirituality.life, and we are clearly in the second half of the year. Pam's going to let us know all about the week starting of Monday, the 4th of July, 2022, which is week 27 of this year, and I will be back soon. Pam, how's it looking for us?
Okay. Yes. Well, for those who celebrated Happy Independence Day in the United States, a day which is kind of fraught and under a lot of discussion these days because of the historic revelations in the United States, which those of you who have been listening to me for a while know it's this is it. This is like the time when we have to discuss and determine the course of the United States over the next couple of years. But we are in difficult throes over the past couple of years and through 2024 as the United States kind of decides what kind of country it's going to be. So Independence Day, with a Virgo moon this year, should lead to a lot of heartfelt discussions on change and the health of the country because of other aspects happening. But for those who are not in the United States or care anything about what happens in the United States, and being such a very large country with a lot of military and finance, better or worse, it does have an effect globally. So, but I should also point out and remind us that the United States is certainly not the only country that's being affected by what began in, well, actually, probably if we go far enough back to 2008 when Pluto entered Capricorn, when all kinds of institutions and structures began to undergo change, whether they want it or not. And at the end of the cycle, we will have irrevocable transformation in certain institutions, absolutely. So many governments and ways that things are structured have been undergoing change. This was given the extra layer in January 2020 when we had Saturn-Pluto in Capricorn, the onset of awareness of the pandemic. And then we moved on to where we are now, being affected by the Saturn square Uranus, which colors this whole year of 2020. And so there's a lot of Saturn Capricorn stuff in these themes. And what that means is that the desire for status quo, to hold on tight to something, is also at odds with the absolute truth that it's time for irrevocable change, which also brings in initially chaos, because chaos is what creates the absolute certainty that change must occur and structures must go in place in order to deter and buttress what seems to be chaos. So as we dig further into the onset of the week of July 4th, one thing to note, all the times I give are Eastern time, so please adjust depending on where you are. One thing to note is that in the morning, up until late morning. There's a picture in the sky, which I've talked about many times because it happens. It moves at least a couple of times a month as the moon enters a square, or actually the opposition to the planet Venus. And what happens when this occurs is that for all of us who are born with what's considered hard or challenging aspects to our moon coupled with Venus, what happens is we get into a situation that reminds us of what might feel to be at odds between our needs and our desires, what we want. And ideally, what we want is what we need, and what we need is what we want. But for Venus, Venus Moon challenge people, this isn't always the case at all. It can be rather disparate, Well, I need comfort and security, but I want to take risks and walk on the wild side. Well, that's at odds. That's not always how it manifests for people with Moon and Venus challenges, but it's an example of how it might. So for some of us in the morning, we may be feeling that our needs are at crossroads with what we really want. And I think, especially looking at what a loud day this is, in that it's Independence Day in the United States, that this could be a lot of buzz or conversations that are about, well, this is what I need to feel like I'm in the US or a citizen, but this is what I want the country to be. So it's not just about personal, it can be the extension of the personal, which becomes the job, the country, the neighborhood, because we all see everything through our lens. Now, what I love about this day, though, is that once that passes and we get towards high noon, then we're in energy that's much more, well, okay, if I want to reconcile this somehow, let me roll up my sleeves and figure out a way to do it, to make a difference. So this can be a really good day of doing things that basically are for a higher ideal, or something that has to do with something you are ready to transform and make happen. So it's not just people who are involved in the United States or have some sort of Declaration of Independence to do, but there is a piece that is influenced by this, which comes to, if you want to, because the moon kind of shows how the overall feeling is. So the overall feeling with the moon in Virgo is, how do we perfect something? How do we make it better? How do we help? How do we provide service? How do we give ourselves what we need to be in the best overall health and really have a sense of feeling like we're connected to the earth? Now, people might manifest this in different ways, but if we're really paying attention to what energetically wants to happen, and this becomes even more powerful because over the next 24 hours, Mars enters the sign of Taurus. And so that's a lot of energy in Earth. Pluto in Capricorn, even though Mars in Taurus is early degree and Pluto in Capricorn is late degree, and the moon, of course, is traveling over a course of 2.5 days in the sign of Virgo. But nonetheless, it's a lot of Earth energy. And what does Earth do? Earth manifests. It makes something tangible that's, quote, real in the world that we can see. So that looks differently, or what the result we might want to bring in could have a different feel for different people. But the inherent truth of it is, what can I make tangible? So on this day, and as we get into the 5th as well, there's a lot of energy that's about, what is it you want to bring down to earth and give a tangible manifestation to? For some of us, it might be, well, I'm continuing to take care of my body, to work in my garden, to tend my home. For others, it might be a wider extension. Let me see how I can serve, what I can do in community, what I can do with people around me, because my intention is wide. And it may not just be people in my immediate radius, that might radiate out far and wide. There's also a strong connection to what can be healing and helpful and restorative by being in nature, connecting with animals. So these 2 days, that's a lot of what they're speaking about. And the more, especially on Tuesday, the more that we're in touch with our inner self, or a meditation dialogue, the more we can be acutely aware, have revealed to us what it is we are moving towards and making happen. At 2:04 p.m. on Tuesday the 5th, the moon goes void of course, and it's void of course until 6:25 p.m. when it enters Libra. So that kind of mid-afternoon to early evening time is a great time to clear the decks, get things in order for what's coming in next. And we're still working with the waxing moon cycle, so we're building on things that we want to bring to fruition, or put to bed, like that we finished up with. So there's a lot of momentum energy, but in these few hours of the void of course time, it's best to work with things already in motion, or get ready, set up for what comes next. Now, when the moon is in Libra, ideally, we are communicating, making connections, doing things that give us a sense of cultural fulfillment, or higher mind, legal things that give us a sense of creating an equilibrium in dialogue and in our overall state of being. However, on this evening, it might, things can come up that sort of maybe devil's advocate, or create a degree of, this isn't feeling as smooth as I would like. Realize that whatever it is may well be coming up for things that need to be understood better as you can continue to work with whatever it was you'd intended or want to bring into a clearer reality. So, what can happen when we become crystal clear about what it is we want to do, create, or make happen is that we get pushback. I mean, not everybody is necessarily happy that the situation has changed, or what it is you want to do isn't what they want to do. So this is an opportunity for dialogue, for greater awareness, to understand where the blocks or resistance may come. And it may be within yourself. It may be things that come up that just say to you, no, you can't do that. Or if you give that up, so and so, or a sense of loyalty, or who will you be? And inevitably, when we are really in an awareness of transformation or becoming, we have to be willing to discard who we were, or prior situation. And that can feel very off-putting to us, to yourself or to other people in your life. But there's an inevitability to it, because when we try to cling to things that have outworn their purpose, then they'll pull us down with them. So on Wednesday and into Thursday, we're still having this energy of dialogue, confrontation, and it doesn't mean you're getting in arguments with people. Actually, on Wednesday, I wouldn't think that was the case at all. But you may be encountering situations or revelations within self that just are a little uncomfortable or make you push in a direction that you don't or didn't want to go in. And that's okay, as long as you stay true and focused on what it is that needs to happen. And so Thursday, the 7th, is same kind of energy. In Libra, we have a lot of opportunity to be in dialogue or get the information we need. One of the things about being in dialogue is sometimes we can have very set thoughts or ways we see things, and we realize, okay, this is another way to make this manifest. Thursday, the moon goes void, of course, at 9:04 p.m. And once it's void, then one thing that I should mention, though, is the evening may be. So I should also mention that Thursday evening, we may find ourselves either in those confrontations, as I said, with ourselves or with another person. Especially, it can be a person one is very intimate with or in financial dealings with. The piece about this is to understand that whatever might feel like a power struggle or something that is difficult, just where you can put more slack in the rope may give you more understanding of where the give and take is. But when we pull that tighter, then we are locked in a place that doesn't allow us to see options. At 9:04 p.m., the moon goes void, of course, and it's void, of course, for the rest of the evening. So this is really a good time to, if you can, just sort of restore, relax, and process whatever the lessons were the past couple of days. So the moon enters Scorpio at 1:15 a.m. on July the 8th. And this Scorpio moon, which is, when the moon is in Scorpio, people tend to be more intense. They, especially water people, possibly people with a lot of earth as well, a sense of fixed sign energy, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. And so what happens is people get into the focus or the stick-to-itiveness, and they can be very attached to outcome of things. And this is not necessarily bad. Actually, over the next couple of days, if we are very self-aware and clear on what it is that we're working for, conscious, then we can push through a lot of stuff over the next couple of days. Extremely therapeutic energy, not necessarily easy. Anyone who's ever done a lot of deep work, therapy work, body or mental or emotional knows. It can feel kind of lousy when we're getting through something that needs to be seen before it's released. But that's also very, very powerful and good. So the morning may feel a little fraught for some of us, high emotional for some of us. If you tip this way anyway, or you're going through a lot of stuff, give yourself a slow, easy morning if possible. Do not engage with people who just don't get it. It's not gonna be worth it for you. So as the day proceeds, I think it's going to be an excellent day to really focus, research, know where you're going, very, very profound on what we can move through and make happen. What I would advise for Friday and Saturday is to be with people with whom you feel you truly connect and truly support you, because otherwise you may feel as though you're kind of on another planet. So this is especially true on Saturday the 9th. If you feel that you, again, are kind of getting into stuff, basically what's happening is that we're going through a lot of well, some of us more than others, because it depends on where certain planets are working with your horoscope, but because we can have a large large candy box of people in our lives, it may be that somebody's going through something that you're not exactly privy to, but you're getting influenced or affected by. So this can be a rather emotionally tumultuous day, but in the end, it can be a day that feels incredibly as though, wow, I got through a major boatload of stuff. It could affect work, it could affect emotions, it could have to do with the physical, but it's a profound and serious members only apply day. For those who aren't being affected by it, just enjoy what can be a very productive day. Sunday the 10th, the moon goes void, of course, at 12:34 a.m. So in the wee hours of the morning, just after midnight the night before. And then it enters Sagittarius at 4:34 a.m., which sets up a day that I think should just be enjoyed, if possible, outside, in nature, in movement, appreciating new ideas and thoughts, and don't push too hard. And so the overall energy of the week has a lot to do with working with the momentum of the waxing moon cycle and being as conscious as possible of what's going on with you emotionally and the people around you. And now I turn it over to Suzy.
Sounds like the human condition. Being aware of your emotions and everybody else's. Okay, let's jump into our meditation. And I invite everyone just to take a place of stillness for 10 minutes. And as we slowly, nicely drop into that, just getting a sense now of the self-awareness, and feeling the simplicity of the moment. Just feeling that we can just be here now and be simple. And take a nice deeper breath and just relax into the moment. And when we're talking about emotions, something that makes us very especially human, and the wide range of emotions that we can have, and sometimes we find that we just kind of get stuck in a certain place, in certain emotions. And if they're good states, happy, joyful, blissed out, then we're fine. No one's ever complaining about being too happy. But when those states are not comfortable, when they're clearly moments of suffering, then those are emotions that we don't really want to sit with and don't really want to be with. We all have them. Some of us have them a lot of the time. Some of us go in and out of those emotions. What's important to understand is those emotions are also equal to the actual chemicals in our body, the actual hormones, the actual information in our body that is physical. The chemicals that our body produces when we're scared or when we're panicked or when we're worried or when we're nervous are very different to the chemicals of when we're being hugged and held and are feeling love or feeling happiness. So it's a very different chemical, and we know from, like, for example, from animals that they can smell those chemicals on us, like a dog can smell if we're afraid, or a dog can smell if we're happy. So knowing that our body is really, on one level, we can look at it, feel it, experience it, and it's a factory of chemicals. It's a bag of chemicals. And when we have been in a particular chemical state for a long time, for example, depression or sadness, our body gets used to making those chemicals and it stays there. It's perhaps what we might even call stuck in a rut. And that rut, that space, is something that happens almost automatically. And we can find in our lives that we become so accustomed and so used to that state that we make statements out in the world. We say, oh, yes, that's me, I'm a warrior. Or, yes, that's me, I'm always depressed. Or, yes, that's me, and we identify with those states and we identify with those chemicals and we almost accept them as this is me, this is myself, this is where I'm naturally hanging out. And if we feel differently, it's like, wow, that's not me. It's almost hard for us to get out of that rut, to get out of that place. And then we can also create conditions around us consciously, unconsciously, one could even say magnetically, or by the energy of ourselves, that we attract things to us to satisfy the condition that already exists within. So if my body is addicted to or used to creating the chemicals of drama, then I will attract the drama to myself. I will attract it around me. It's what feeds me. So to change, to alter, to make a difference to this state, whatever that state is, whatever that state of depression or whatever that suffering state is, our very first step is to recognize it. Where is my mind? Where are my thoughts? What am I feeling? And actually take command. Take command and not let the feelings, not let the emotional state be in charge and control my life, control me. So as I take command, my first step is to recognize the state and to recognize what brings me to this state, why I am in this state, and to make the very clear call that I no longer want to be in this state. I am now, from my own volition, from my own sense of individuality, from my own sense of awareness, I am now taking command, and I'm recognizing myself. I'm recognizing my emotions. I'm recognizing my cycles, my triggers, my vulnerable points. I'm recognizing my own awareness, and I am taking full and complete responsibility for my state of mind, for my understanding of myself, for my reality. And from this place, I am able to initiate my own ideas, my own feelings, my own intentions that propel me forward. And I am no longer in any way influenced by the feelings of others that are not beneficial to me. I am no longer influenced, affected by the words of others, by the actions of others that are not for my highest good. And as I do this, I take a few deeper breaths, and I recognize that I am in command of my own being, my own thoughts, my own feelings, independent of others, independent of all of the suffering of others. I am responsible for my own state. And as we do this, as I do this, I feel myself literally falling into my body 100%. Spirit, soul, physical body, emotions, thoughts, clear as day, strong and powerful, awake and aware, and full of potential. Gently opening our eyes, welcoming the life ahead, knowing that I am in command. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Pam, and let's see you all next week. Thanks. Love now.
You have been listening to Suzy Meszoly and Pamela Cucinell of ActiveSpirituality.life. If you've enjoyed this program, consider a donation. You can find the link for that, ActiveSpirituality.life. Regardless, we look forward to having you join us again for next week's podcast. Please share and have a great week.